recording. So I'm going to go back to my screen share. I think you guys can see Canvas. And
Yep.
if you'll notice, none of the assignments are due right now. These are bigger assignments that you don't want to wait till the last minute on, right? They take a little bit more time. But okay, this is not your class. I keep doing that. So I have App-Led 102 and Guidance 102. They're the same class. One meets in person though, and we're a little ahead on the in-person class of all things. I need to start taking better notes of where we end each session here so that I can start in the right spot for you guys. Okay, now we're in your section. This should be the correct one. I'm going to go to student view here, and this should hopefully let me see what you see. Syllabus, professionalism activities. I still got to get grades posted for you guys on those, the self-assessment. So if you see like missing or a T or something like that, it just means your teacher has not uploaded your grade. Now we're looking at the voice, which we went over, and I did catch that recording, so I'll get that posted for you. Due mid-February, so we still have a little bit of time, a couple weeks more of time. So I'll try to get that recording and I'll let you guys know once it's up so that you can go back and look at that if you need it. We have not gone over the schedule planning worksheet yet. We will though. So we'll try to get to that next week, maybe the week after, but I'll make sure at least 2 or 3 weeks in advance. We cover it live on the call well in advance of when it's actually due. Okay. Voice part 2, we'll get into that again later on. We'll go back to the voice and go back to that. Meeting with counselor, not due yet, but we'll get to it. So I'm scrolling down now. This is just a box for any additional in-class stuff that I want to give you guys points for, and I'll be getting to that as well. You should see, and I'm on the home screen, by the way, so I'm in Canvas and in the home screen right down here at the bottom. This is your latest document, and there is no submission box yet. So there's it's not open. So on your assignments that are due, there may not be something showing there because the box is not open for you guys yet. Does that make sense? But you should see a file. Did I explain that okay? Do you see this file now or know where to locate it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And you should also be able to go to files, but they're like scattered if you do that. So, okay, that's where that's at. And I will try to get the recording of last class period up for you guys. Very important note. Now I'm going to move tabs. This is ccsfoundation.org. So it's affiliated with the community colleges of Spokane. Okay. But this is the website you want to go to. I don't know if I can open the chat while screen sharing, but I'll try to put it in the chat for you guys. ccsfoundation.org. And we're going to hit apply for scholarships up here. What they do is they go out in our community, specifically in Spokane, but also throughout the region, and they approach employers, companies, key leaders in different industries that we have majors for. So for example, the welding program, there's a lot of companies that hire welders, and we have welding here at, SCC. They go out and they approach some of these heads of companies and say, hey, would you guys be willing to donate $1,000 or $2,000 each year to support a student in need at our campuses? And it's a pretty cool thing that they do. I want you to look first before we go to how to apply. We're going to skip that for a second and go to the middle tab here, Scholarship Index. If you're able to follow along with me on a desktop right now, that's great. If not, just watch. I'd like for you to do this. I tell students to do this. This is a massive list. Look at all of these scholarships. Okay. The good news is you don't have to apply for these individually. This is a one-stop shop where you can submit an application through their web portal, and they screen it and decide out of this massive list, here's the 5 that you're best suited for, and they'll forward your application to the ones that, and not necessarily 5, it might be 10 that you're best suited for. They'll forward it to the appropriate ones for you. Okay. They awarded, I think, 200 and something of these last year. It's roughly around 300. It varies a little bit from year to year, but around 300 scholarships that they give out every year from this list of companies or organizations in some cases. I tell students before you start, this is helpful, click on any 7 or 8 of these. So I'm just going to pick one. What are they looking for? It's a $1,000 amount. They're looking to give this to students with at least a 3.0 GPA studying auto body program. So I assume that's maybe automotive, maybe. So if that's not you, that's okay. Okay. But this is an example. Do you have to be a perfect student? No. Okay. But at least a 3.0. So like B's or better in overall average, right? In your classes, if you did get a lower grade in one, maybe you got a higher grade in another to offset that. This one is already labeled health science. I'm going to click on that, and that may not be applying to anybody, but you see how they have it. They've just got full-time health science students demonstrating financial need and having at least a 2.8 GPA. So if you are in thinking about health sciences, and even if your grades aren't quite as good, they'll still consider you. It's $2,000. This is all programs. So even if you don't know your major yet, let's see what this one says. Full-time students with at least a 2.5 GPA. Wow. So even if your grades aren't great, but you're full-time, they'll consider any program. It does say that they give preference to Whitman County. I'm not sure why that is. It might be that the group who's awarding this, it's a $600 amount. And usually they'll send that to you as they'll apply that to your financial aid. You can use it for books or something, right? Or even your transportation expenses. Maybe the donors came from Whitman County or something. Let's try this one, Daybreak. I don't know who Daybreak Spokane, successfully involved in a recovery program. So if you're recovering from something there, Dave Rapp Memorial, vocational, they like automotive related fields. Let me see if I can find a few different ones. There's all kinds of different ones, and I don't even know. Garco Construction, any kind of building or trades programs, machinists, rural students. Look at this one. This is rural students who participate in activities like sports, music, and community. You know that they're also different. And if you were to click on 7 or 8 more, you'd find line construction, family scholarship. Oh, look at this one. Here's their only requirement: students who are single parents. Wow. Some of them will say students who are parents, not necessarily that you're a single parent, but just that you are a parent. I've clicked on quite a few of these. I've not looked at all of them, but I've clicked on quite a few of these. And I tell students just to click through, and you can get an overview before you click on it. So if you are kind of in an open scenario right now, liberal arts major or unsure major, look at the ones that say like all programs, right? The deadline is 3/18 of 2022, so March 18th. Notice that my deadline, scholarship essay writing, the letter that I want you to try to write, is due at the end of February, right? So that gives us time. That gives me time. You turn it in, I look at it. There's a rough draft week where you're going to turn in your rough draft even a week early so I can get a head start on it and meet individually with students on it. And that still would give you a good nearly 2 weeks after it's due to me. If you do decide you want to then turn around and submit it, you can turn around and submit it. Okay. Questions before I go into the next part of how to apply. I know this sounds like a commercial, but I'm hoping that it's helpful. Okay, no questions yet. Let's go to the how to apply part. So you've got, and remember, this is the make an impact. Like if you want to be a donor, apply for scholarships is the general tab that I'm in right now. I went straight to the index to show you some of the scholarships that they have. Now we're going to go to how to apply. Okay, just so that you know how to navigate. So they've got over 100 that are open. Actually, they're already open. They advise you before you start to look at the scholarship index. That's where we were just at. Just get an idea of what's out there. You must be an admitted student to apply. And then when you sign in, the email will be your first name, followed by the first initial of your last name, last 4 digits of your student ID, followed by @Bigfoot. So your Bigfoot sign in, okay, is what you're going to use. Password, your full student ID number, unless you've changed it, okay? So use your Bigfoot sign in. This will let me in with my Bigfoot. They don't put the word Bigfoot on the faculty accounts, but mine is already set. It'll let me sign in with just my my faculty, or at least it should. I've done it before in the other class. Yeah, okay, this worked. So I'm in with just my but you have to use a SCC related email password in order to even start your application. Okay, you'll hit start the application. It's going to look like this. You are not required, and this is important, you do not have to do this for my class. I'm just showing this to you. You do have to do the letter. That's an assignment. You're going to turn that into me. If you just want to keep it and you don't send it anywhere else, that's fine with me. This is just an option for you though, right? To think about sending it out later in March. since you have to write it and do it anyway, why not apply? And every year, I'm very proud to say this, I have students who score money off of the work that we do in my class. And I think that's always the challenge, right? Money, time, making time to study and keep your grades up, but also being able to pay your bills while you're in school. That's the biggest part of it. They take up, you know, this looks pretty standard, right? You'd have to spend some time on your own filling these out, these little buttons. Note, they'll ask you if you've completed the FAFSA, but even if you completed it but got denied. So there's income requirements for the FAFSA, like how much do you make? How much did you make last year? And you might get a like, oh, you're not eligible because you made too much money last year. Notice that those scholarships that we were looking at didn't ask anything like that. Just like one sentence or two sentences of what they're looking for. So think about it in that way. They might still decide to give you $600 or $1,000 or $2,000, regardless of what your income was. Okay, so don't let this scare you. Okay. Qualification questions. This is how they kind of narrow it down a little bit versus putting your app in for all, 300. They try to notice, here's that question. Are you planning to go beyond CCS, transfer? Are you a single parent? Do you have any dependent children living with you? Are you a former crosswalk client? Are you employed at all? They're asking some general questions about different things like this. There's the Whitman County one, right? Do you happen to be from this county? That type of thing. Okay. They're trying to help narrow it a little bit and tailor it to where once you submit an application, they're going to forward it to the best ones that fit your application. Essays. Now look at this. This looks a little bit different than the actual letter I'm going to have you write. Remember, I emphasized last class period, and I'll try my best to get that uploaded by tomorrow-ish, and I'll send an email out once it's up. The one that I have you write comes from a different college. I'll go ahead and just give them a nice little give credit. We want to give credit, not plagiarize, but I bring it from Salish Kootenai College, which is a former college where I taught. I use theirs because historically in 11 years of teaching, I've been able to have students take the one they wrote for this particular school and cut and paste and apply it to a lot of different scholarships that are out there, even like private businesses and stuff. So that's why I have you write slightly differently. Okay. But look at this. Why do you want to go to college? What do you expect to gain from earning a degree? And what action plan do you have in place to stay in school until completion? Be sure to include specific education plans and career goals. If you go back, and I might still have that pulled up here. I do. I'm going to stop the screen share. If you go back to our assignment right here, I'm going to re-screen share that assignment. Notice these questions are asking you to introduce yourself up here, describe yourself as a student here. What support systems do you have while pursuing your degree? What's your goal? What qualities do you have that'll help you achieve that? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Same questions presented in a little different way. I like the way they break it down. The one that I have you writing, I feel like it's broken down a little bit better. So students who struggle with writing can follow it a little bit better and just kind of chip away at everything you need to speak to. Let me go back to the other screen share where we're looking at this one here. This one, but either way, I recommend write the one you have to write for the assignment, then take some of that and adapt it over here. Before you submit it, like don't just type it into the blank, type it on a Word document that you can copy and paste into the blank later. And I'd be happy to help you as we fine tune your letter, tailor it to where it fits this one exactly too. Okay. Notice their next question, very simply put, state any personal or family circumstances affecting your need for financial assistance. If you go back to the original scholarship letter that I've got you writing, it says, tell us about any unique circumstances affecting your ability to attend college, right? So it's written a little bit differently, but it's the same content. This is what you're going to put, copy and paste into that blank. Okay. Lastly, and this one's a little different this year, so they've changed it a little bit this year, but pick an experience from your own life and describe how it influenced your development and shaped who you are as a person. This one's a little new, a little different. It may not necessarily be exactly stated on our scholarship letter that we're writing for class, but many times when you talk about oops, I lost it here. This one. Many times when you talk about your obstacles, I find that students who are talking about challenges they've overcome, I've got one student in the other class who's writing about like, I struggle with dysgraphia. I've had that in school. I wasn't even diagnosed until this grade. And so I always struggled in school or whatever. You know, there's different, usually what you write about for your obstacles and your challenges that you've had to overcome is very adaptable to this one as well. And you might choose to write something different, but you see how it kind of fits together. What we're creating for our class with the actual letter, exit this screen share, go back to the other one really quickly, is a template. This is a template, a standard, something you can write this month and keep with you. And then as different scholarship opportunities come open, you've kind of got a baseline of something you've written that you can then maybe cut this paragraph and tailor it slightly and submit it to that scholarship with very little time needed. And then you see another scholarship, they've got questions that are written slightly differently, but oh, it kind of fits this one. So let me cut this paragraph, put it in there, and maybe tailor it slightly or something. That's the goal here. And I'm hoping I'm explaining that well. So you're required to write the assignment, the assignment that's posted on Canvas. You are not required to do this, but I encourage you to do so because you'll already have 2 of these knocked out once you write the letter for my class. And then the third one, depending on what you decide to share, you might already have that one knocked out too, and you might have to write a little extra, it just depends. But I'd be happy to help you guys as we get closer to March and you tell me, Miss Wilson, I am planning to put in for the CCS Foundation as well. I'd be happy to schedule a one-on-one appointment time to make sure that your answers look really beautiful for these as well. Okay. And I can't promise that I'll do that for every scholarship you apply for, but if you do it for this one, I will. Okay. Specific to our college. I hope I explained that. Okay. Lastly, you have to just do, there's an acknowledgement. If you fill this out, you're certifying that what you've provided information wise is true and correct, you know, that type of thing. Okay. I'm going to take questions now. Was that, again, that's not required. You don't have to apply to the CCS Foundation, but I think it's a great opportunity and the window is open throughout this quarter. So yeah, I encourage students to do so. Okay. Questions. Silence in the room. Okay. I'll just reiterate one more time. You had a question last time about international students. The CCS Foundation, the website that we were just looking at, they do award money to international students. So that's, you know, something to consider. So uh-oh. I think you might be muted.
And that's why we have to.
I think we keep losing you. Okay. I don't know. It seems like it wants to keep muting you. I don't know if that's on my end or on your end. Jordan, to answer your question, yes, we can do that. Whenever we schedule, so in February, as you finish up your letter for the assignment itself, during that week, and maybe if I need to set aside 2 weeks for it to make sure I give everyone sufficient time, that towards the end of February, instead of having a traditional like whole group class, I'm going to set up individual appointment times with everybody. And during your individual appointment time, if you want to bring that one as well, either in person or on Zoom, we can. Is it due before that, Jordan? And you can just answer in the chat if you need to. But ideally, I'd like to try to organize my time and handle that in about mid-February to the end of February. Try to like work with students on getting their essays ready to go. I'm going to go back to Canvas now. Let's see. Hold on just a second. I'm the worst at managing multiple screen shares here. We're going to go back to Canvas. Back on Canvas, okay? So that's this. It's not due yet, but be working on it, be thinking about it. It's in your best interest to do so. Back to the home screen. Again, that's where you would find it, is in this big module of important docs and main assignments, weeks 1 through 6. Okay, that type stuff. Let's look at, we've got our quizzes and our discussions. Let's look at the discussion really quick. Because the only other things that you have, and just so that you're aware that you have them, every week there's a discussion, every week there's a quiz. Remember, we don't have any other, like, you got like work on these instructions for this week, but none of them are due. Okay, the discussion is due and the quiz is due every week. So this is what you actually have that's due by this Sunday night. Okay, just your discussion, just your quiz. And then the expectation is to be working on these other assignments that are coming up so that we're not waiting till the last minute. Okay. This note I actually probably need to remove. This is open. Okay. It's been reopened. I'd like for students to try to respond. Ultimately, to get your grade, though, just post an initial discussion and then we might do the responses part later. Okay. But we're going to look back. They had in the textbook, they briefly touched on stereotyping and what that is and how that affects people. They come back to it in a later chapter in the book, but we're going to go ahead and kind of pull from that this week. Part 1, and I'm going to give you some time right now to watch those videos if you haven't already. I'm also going to make sure before I log off of this call that I go over the key page numbers from the book for you so that you'll have those. These are very short videos. They're like 3 minutes each. One of them is literally called Stereotypes by Black Violin. The other one is a Nike commercial that sparked a lot of controversy when it came out. And they are posted, but let me go ahead and share those with you. Because I think as a teacher, I could probably improve. It would be great if I just had the link right there, huh? I could probably improve my user friendliness on the Canvas experience. They are posted in Canvas, but it would make sense for me to just have the link right there. So I'll show them to you. What you're going to do when you watch those videos is list at least 5 different stereotypes that you saw pictured in either one of them, okay? Or if you saw them in both or whatever. Out of your 5, choose one that speaks to you and share why you think that this stereotype is one that we should challenge and be aware of in our current society, okay? Part 2, so this is just coming from your personal experience, share a story or scenario illustrating a stereotype that has personally affected you or someone you know in a negative way. That can be very personal or painful experiences sometimes. So I want to remind everyone to be respectful of each other. But I think it's also important just to be open and honest and share that for the benefit of everyone else. Okay. Because other people may not realize, they might think this particular idea or stereotype that I have in my mind is harmless. And they don't realize, like, no, that actually impacts someone else. Okay. So I'm going to show you really quick the videos so that you've got access to them. Oh, I meant to, let me go back to for some reason it blocks me. They are on Canvas under the, if you scroll all the way to the bottom of your home screen, they're on Canvas in the helpful Zoom videos section. Let's see if I can get that done. It doesn't let me come back to, there we go. Okay. So back to the home screen, you should be able to see, I'm on the home screen in Canvas, you should be able to see, maybe you can't. Okay. That's your instructor's fault. I'm not going to deal with that right now. I'll show it to you and then I'll make sure I'll look on my master screen here. I'm back in the master instructor view. Let's see here. I need to make, there they are. They're not published. They're not showing up as they should be. I'm glad I do these calls. Please feel free to stop me anytime. They should be showing up now. You should have links to those. And then ideally, it would be good if I just embedded them into the discussion board. But helpful Zoom videos and TED Talks, here they are. I'm going to show you what they look like on YouTube really quick. Black violin stereotypes. This is what you're looking for. There they are. It's probably going to show an ad first, but that's what you're looking for. These guys, okay? Go back here and find it. there's a nice, that's the cover screen image, okay? It's a 3-minute music video. It's pretty impactful. The other one that you're looking for is this one. And this was very controversial a couple of years ago. I say a couple years ago, it's been a little bit longer than that. And for fair reason, for political reasons, right? Like this person's political views and different things like that. What we're looking for when you watch, though, are some of the different stereotypes. It's actually a very moving commercial in a lot of ways, if you take maybe the political element out of it. Some of the images of stereotypes that they showcase and how they maybe negatively affect people, especially in the realm of, like, you know, sports or extracurricular activities and things like that. They're pretty impactful, some of the scenes that you'll see in that commercial, okay? So what I'd like for you to do, it's 10:58. Choose one and watch it now, okay? I'm gonna go silent for 3 or 4 minutes here. We'll rejoin at 11:03. Choose one, and then I'll just ask you for roll call today to just share a couple of the stereotypes that you saw in there that were impactful for you. And that will be counting you as present today. So choose either one of those to watch. At 10:03, we'll rejoin and do that. And then I will, before we close, I'll take that interaction from you guys for roll call. And then before we close, I'll go over the key pages in the chapter.
I'm sorry, my phone cut out for like a good section of that. I heard the black violin, and then after that, I didn't hear anything else.
Okay. Watch, if you'll pull up and watch that commercial really quick, if you're able. I'm going to put it in the chat. Black violin stereotypes. You can find that on YouTube. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You can watch that one. And then what you're looking for is just find a couple. You got to find 5 for the discussion forum this week, but be ready for roll call sake to know that you're participating. Be ready to just share quickly with the group a couple of them that you saw. We'll rejoin at 10:03. It's a short video.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, or 11:03, sorry. Okay, so guys, it's actually 5 after, but that should have given us enough time to have watched at least one of the videos. Okay, I'm gonna go through roll call now. And the order I'm gonna go in is I'm gonna have Dom first, then Camille, then Take. And I'm gonna fill up the chat box with whatever you share here. And if for some reason your audio is not working, you could maybe just submit it in the chat box. But Dom, what stereotypes did you see that spoke to you? Camille, I'll have you go ahead and go. And then whenever he's able to get access, maybe he can jump back in.
Okay, I saw I watched the Black Violins, and I saw that some of the stereotypes were women not being astronauts, stereotyping people by their build and color. And then a lot of it was just from a visual point of view. A lot of people were just stereotyping from the way that they look.
Okay, just even how they're dressed, how they, yeah. Okay. Take, and then after Take, we'll go with Sarissa. Sarissa, let me have you jump in there, and then maybe Take it. We'll be able to jump in a sec.
All right. I didn't I didn't get a good look at the video. I watched the Kaepernick Nike one.
Yeah, yeah.
I did like, I don't know. I didn't quite follow. Well, I followed just fine, but the message itself didn't really seem to talk too much about stereotypes as much as hopefulness. But the visuals really pulled the video, and the one that stood out strongly to me is just the wheelchair wheelchair sports being able to go above and beyond in their own categories.
And so the wheelchair stood out. That might be disabilities, right? If someone has a disability versus the mentality that no, you can't, no, you can't, no, you can't, right? Yes, you can, right? Don't ever assume that because, like that type of idea that's because someone has an identified or maybe even a visible disability that they must be this or they must be that, or they must be capable or incapable of something, right?
Which I think is pretty, I don't know, my personal opinion is just that's pretty unfair, because there's so many developments in technology and just like human understanding itself that like the whole point of being human is to break the boundaries. So why should they be held back for what they can and cannot do?
And another aspect of it would be letting one particular characteristic that a person has be the characteristic that defines that person, right?
Exactly.
Any of us want to be fully defined, like, this one characteristic or this one aspect of myself is what defines me, right? Like, I don't think anybody wants to be, I don't think anyone wants to feel like they're categorized into, a box necessarily or something like that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And that is one that's moving. And again, I realize there's different, messaging there that may or may not resonate with people. But I think to me that those images that you're referring to, because there were several of them actually, they are very powerful in that commercial, those types of images and ways of thinking. Let me hear from, let's see, Steve-O. And then after Steve-O, we'll go with Jordan.
Okay, yeah, I watched the Black Violin music video, and what stood out the most to me was, a couple gangster looking guys playing violin. I felt like that was like defying a stereotype.
So if I was to say, this is a good one, thanks for sharing that one, Steve-O. If I was to say, hey guys, extra credit opportunity, we have some violinists who are coming to perform out at the Hagen Center at the SFCC campus. But if you go and you sign in, I can give you 10 points extra credit for checking out these violinists who are coming to visit our campus. Would you have pictured those guys, Steve-O?
No, definitely not.
Who would you have pictured without knowing
It
anything?
would have been like either in my mind it would be like a young woman or an old man.
Okay. I'll share what my mind is. I'm gonna look up Allison Krauss. Anybody know Allison Krauss? I grew up with her. Here's Allison Krauss here. I'll try to find a good image and I'll share it really quickly, but that's who I would have pictured. And she happens to be a white woman, right? I think, and they talk about that in interviews. Here's her in like a performance. I think they're intentional, and when they've done a few interviews out there where they're intentional about even their name. They go by, that's the name of their group. Like,
Yeah.
we want to challenge people's ideas, and they talk about like we were the only Black students in our music class who took up this particular instrument, and people thought we should be playing. One of the guys says they thought we should be playing the saxophone instead. And so they are challenging like not only our race but also the way we're dressed, the way we look, like, and then also what we're doing. And I like the quote at the end, what we're doing with the music, we're playing with how this can sound type thing. So yeah. I think that in itself is meant to challenge people's perceptions. Jordan. Yeah. So I'll read this if that's okay. The stereotype I saw was the violinist who was scared that others were scared of him because of his size and skin color. They also had one man who was holding a basketball and wearing a lab coat, which I think was to represent that you can even have interests that are your stereotype, and you can still be more than the stereotype. Absolutely, right? I felt like his comment about being in an elevator at the end of that video, feeling like every time I step into an elevator and there's other people in there, I feel like they're afraid of me. Like I can really like picture that. I've never felt that. I've been in many places, not many, but a few places where I was the only one of my race and I was the only, female or whatever, but I never got the feeling that like, if I'm the only woman somewhere, all the guys are scared of me. I've never felt that. Or if I'm the only, white woman somewhere, then everyone's scared of me. I've never felt that. So I thought that was pretty moving. Like, because of my size or because of my race and the way I look, I feel like people are always afraid of me. That I thought was just a really moving and interesting quote. Let me call on a couple more people. So I haven't called on Robert. I think Robert did maybe add a comment in the, I said minority, stamina, language, and cultural. If you can add a little bit of thought to that, Robert, if you're able. Let's see here. Hi, yeah, Robert, if you're able to speak, could you share just a little bit?
The types of individual, the types of individual, that are normally typical musicians and other things like that have to deal with like there being stereotypical, I guess, views, what they look like, I guess.
Okay. What type of music a person should be performing, right, is almost got like certain stereotypical nuances to it, right? And that could even be based on age or generation or, something like that, right? I think age. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Cultural too.
Okay. Thank you.
Because,
yeah.
Thank you.
I'm going to go back really quickly. Dom, are you able to jump in? Are you able to jump in? And even if you're having mic issues or something, maybe just add something to the chat for us. And did I call on everyone? Did I miss anybody? That was roll call for today. Participation. And now for a very important part, if you have your books, turn in your books. And it is, let me get to my right page number here. I'll try to be as quick as possible because I know it's 11:14. So it should be chapter 3, Discovering Self-Motivation. For me, that is on page 84, 85. And I hope that we come back to this. I will try. I'm kind of like front loading our course with like information about the assignments, information about the assignments, information about the assignments. But I do hope that I'll be able to work backwards and have a few discussion type lessons, because I do like our book a lot and the topics they cover as far as just helping you succeed. And then also just in life. So key pages and I always tell students, let me see if I can get my video up here. I'm on this page, the opening page here, where they kind of give you the overview of the chapter right there. Differences between successful students and struggling students. Pay attention to those. It's so much of it is about attitude. So much of it is about being willing to take initiative. And if you don't understand something, be that person who reaches out to the professor and then reach out again. And then we're going to be talking more about resources again. We briefly touched on resources. We're going to come back to campus resources again in a couple weeks, and just be that person who's willing to take that initiative and stay at it if you need to. So I'm on page 86 in my book right now. And 87, they have a formula for motivation. That's on page 87. Formula for motivation. I'll add it to the chat as I talk just to make that easier. Formula for motivation, page 87. That's one of the questions. Flipping over, let's see here. Designing a compelling life plan. And that is on page 93. Roles and goal setting. So they go over their recommendations for how to set a goal, the characteristics that a goal should have. They have like even a little acronym for it. So you'll be looking for DAPP as an acronym as you go through. And I can add this to the chat box as well in just a moment here. So if you look at how to set a goal, I'm on page 95 with that one. So I'll just add page 95 here. And DAPS is kind of and you'll notice that they have that broken down. Everything stands for something. Pay careful attention to that section because we have quiz questions that come from there. Okay. That'll make sense once you see that page number. They have on page 98, I made you do something already that was similar, except I make mine more broad, but my short-term goals in the role this semester, I don't force students to make short-term versus long-term, and I don't force students to make your goals only related to school, because I think sometimes the outside goals, just in general, that you have for your life are the motivation for you to like study a class you don't want to study for. But we already kind of worked on some personal goals that we had in a previous discussion forum. Going forward here, other important pages, they have a self-motivation at work section. It's in blue. So I'm looking at page 106 onward, 106 through like 110, page 106 through 110. Self-motivation section in blue. They break some things down there. You'll want to think about, and they've got even key terms that are kind of bolded there. They've got it kind of broken down. You'll want to pay special attention to that section for your quiz. They also have a section on writing a personal affirmation. In some classes, I do make students write a personal affirmation. We may, for like extra credit or something later in the quarter, write a personal affirmation. That's on page 111, but just knowing what that is and kind of the steps that they have available for you. So that's on page 111 onward. And then the last one is healthy decisions. So I usually have, so personal affirmation here, I'm just writing this in. I know we're almost at the 11:20 mark here. I know they usually have a section at the end on healthy choices, and that's page 116 here. That's the last one. So page 116, healthy choices, drugs. Okay. We always will have every single quiz you have in this class. We'll take a look at that end of chapter, making smart choices or making healthy choices type of section. So just always know there will be at least one question that comes from that very final section of the chapter each time. Okay. And I do feel like they are healthy advice that they give on making just good life choices as you're going through college. Any questions? And I'm hoping that having it in the discussion forum as well is helpful for you. I don't do any more like posted videos of the keywords and key pages from the chapter after a certain point. But if you're on the call, I will make sure that I go over those key pages you need for the chapter. Okay. And then that's kind of your reading. Questions?
No.
I'm going to go ahead and dismiss. Thanks for being an attentive audience today. We took the whole time. The only assignments you have due, and I'll put it in the discussion as well as send out. Yes, I'll put the voice code in the chat box again in just a second here. Also, only items due, I'll put this in the chat, are the discussions and the quiz by Sunday. That's all that's due. Everything else we're kind of front loading and getting a head start on. Don't forget about them and be working on them because you definitely don't want to wait to the last minute. Have a great day and a great weekend, guys.
Bye, Miss
Thank
Wilson.
you.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Yep, I'll hang out a minute for those who have questions. The HWX 650 is the new voice code. HWX 650. Yeah, have a good day, Jordan. And let me know what the deadline is on your scholarship if we need to try to revisit before February. Let me know, okay?